Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Slam Talk Sports. It is the Round 6 preview, and it is Good Friday. You didn't think I'd leave you hanging on Good Friday. I've got too much footy to talk about. We've got footy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, hell, even Monday. Sorry to say hell on such a holy day. But first, we must talk about Thursday night football, and yes, those damn Pies, they are back. They smashed the Lions to the tune of 50 points at the Gabba, and they beat them at every single facet of the game. They smashed them up in the midfield with Nick Dacos having 38 disposals. How's that tag going? They also were very compact and strong in their defence, which has been the case for the entire season, and even their forward line fired in the second half, with Elliott kicking 2 goals in his 200th game. As we look at the odds from Sportsbet right now, the Pies, they're back. They are equal premiership favourites along with GWS, Brisbane and Hawthorn. I can't believe it. I can't believe the team that I had such question marks going on into this season looks like a premiership contender once again, due to the strength of their defense and due to the fact that Nick Dacos is Gary Ablett Jr. reincarnated. 38 disposals, a whole heap of scoring involvements, a goal, and 172 Supercoach points. That is wild. That is prime Gary Ablett Jr. That's prime Tom Rockcliffe. I cannot believe how good Nick Dacos played last night. Now, Chris Fagan, the coach of Brisbane, said in the lead-up, yeah, we're going to have to try some stuff. Yeah, that should do the trick. Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. 18 strangers coming together who do not like each other, trying to tackle Nick Dacos. And it didn't work. It didn't work well at all. The Pies were just too strong in every facet of the game. This was Brisbane's second loss in their last 21. It just so happened they lost to Collingwood by 50 points and lost to Collingwood by 1 point at the MCG. They also lost to Collingwood in the grand final back in 2023. The Woods have the woods over these damn Lions. That is 4 wins in a row for Collingwood over Brisbane. And there's not many question marks for me about Brisbane. I still think they're a very, very good team. They got smashed on a one-off game in their home ground against a team that has just seriously been good for 3-4 years now. They're just a bloody good side, Collingwood. Fagan said after the game that it was lackluster, and I won't make any excuses, but here's 4 of them. We had a 5-day break. We've won heaps of games. We're allowed to have a bad one. Pretty much what he said, which I do agree with. You're allowed to have a bad one. You just don't want it to be in such a manner in your biggest game of the year, which is Easter Thursday. It's a capacity crowd at the Gabba, and everyone's so excited to see you play against the biggest club in the land, which is Collingwood, but you really had no answer to what they wanted to do. The biggest one for me isn't Nick Dacos. It isn't Josh Dacos who's killing it. It isn't Scott Pendlebury. It isn't Still Sidebottom, who have somehow visited the fountain of youth and playing like it's 2010-11 again. It's the defense. The defense is so strong right now. Darcy Moore, going into this game, had lost 1 one-on-one for the entire season. That's been a big criticism of Moore. He can't beat the forward. He's worried about getting a kick. He just wants to intercept. He doesn't want to take away his direct opponent. Well, I saw him play wonderfully once again last night. I know he left late in the piece with a bit of a cut on his ear, but he's been fantastic, Darcy Moore. I think Quaynor is back to his best. Jeremy Howe is still putting in a shift. And there's just so many players, particularly with Collingwood's midfield and their defense, that are so connected together to form a strong defensive unit. I can only gush more about Collingwood, but this has to be a 25-minute show. You've got seafood buffets and seafood extravaganzas, degustations to enjoy in the next couple of hours, so I'll keep it brief. Pies looked very, very good. Brisbane need to pull themselves back up. They've got St Kilda next weekend. They'll have a nice break going into that game. I don't expect them to drop that one, and I think they'll continue to build into this season. They've been a slow start, despite the fact they're undefeated, just because they've been relying on these second-half comebacks. It's not going to work every single week, particularly against a team as fit as Collingwood. We'll move on to Good Friday footy. How good is it to have Good Friday footy back? We didn't have it for the longest time, and now we've got 2 games on today. Let's talk about North Melbourne and the Carlton Football Club, the ins and the outs. Firstly, we've got Georgie Wardlaw. Hey there, Georgie boy. George Wardlaw, the number 4 pick in the 2022 draft, comes back after his myriad of hamstring injuries. Out goes Riley Hardiman. And for the Blues, there's some big ins and outs. Let's start with the ins. Blake Acres is back. Elijah Hollands is back after a brief Well, we'll just say it a mental health break. That's what the club has labelled it. Good to see him back. He's a very good, young, talented player, and Lewis Young returns for the Blues. Of course, out Sam Doherty. Wait, what? Sam Doherty's been dropped? Whoa. This is one of the great players with Carlton over the last 20 years. This is an All-Australian, former captain of the club. He's played such a crucial role in so many awe-inspiring victories. To see him dropped just shows where his body's at this stage in his career. That's that 3 ACLs, 3 bouts of cancer. He'd been getting touches, but he hadn't been playing well, and Blues fans had noticed that and alerted me to that. So it's not a stunner that he's been dropped. It's just that on Good Friday, with the attention, with the Good Friday appeal, his own personal battles, overcoming so many illnesses, it's just a bit of a surprise that he's dropped for this game. But hey, I'm not one to judge team selection. Out also goes Harry Mackay, who suffered a concussion early in the game against West Coast, and Brodie Kemp, who suffered a season-ending Achilles injury. The line for this one is 18.5 points. I know what you're thinking. Geez, the teams, they're not too imbalanced. We know we've got the big names in your Kernos and your Welshers and your De Connings. Will that get the job done? I'm not convinced. I think it's finally time for North to finally record a big win in their biggest game of the year. They expect 45,000 today. There's probably going to be 10,000 North fans and 35,000 people that are working in hospitals or in clinics, and people that are honestly just giving up their time and energy to help other people in society. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people at this game are impartial or North fans who have been given a ticket. But that does not tell me that North can't win this game. I think they're going to go very close. I'm personally very tempted to tip North because I see the talent on the park, and I just reckon it's going to be a close one. And the Blues are only just going. They're 3 big outs, or at least 2 big outs to their structural sort of things, with Mackay and Kemp going out. So I just reckon they're a bit feeble, they're a bit fragile, and they can be had today, Carlton. I think I'll tip North Melbourne, but it should be a ripping contest. In terms of betting-wise, a lot of disposals pop up for me. Look at Harry Sheezel, 25, Sam Walsh, 25, George Hewitt, 25, and Caleb Daniel, 25. They're all hitting this mark relatively frequently. Their roles are very secure. Walsh and Hewitt had nearly 40 touches each last week against West Coast. North Melbourne are at a similar level to West Coast. They're a little bit better. Sheezel has hit 25, I think, every game, despite the fact his role has changed a couple of times. He's played half forward, he's played half back, he's played midfield. I still like the Shees to have 25. And Caleb Daniel, well, he just gets a bunch of kicks off the half back line. As long as the ball is somewhere near Carlton's forward line, he's going to have 25 touches as well. Multiple goal scorers. I only really like Paul Curtis. We've seen what small forwards have done to the Blues recently. Curtis is just in ripping goal scoring form. He usually has 3 or 4 decent chances a game. Larkey kicked 10 goals recently against Jacob Wiedering, but I still think it's a tough matchup for Larkey, so I'll be looking at the smalls of North Melbourne to contribute today, and Paul Curtis is by far their best small. Move on to the other game today, which is my Bombers. Yes, my Bombers formerly used to play on this day against North Melbourne. Instead, they've been sent all the way over to Perth to play the West Coast Eagles. Ins and outs for West Coast. We've got Jeremy McGovern coming back, the 5-time All-Australian. Matthew Flynn comes back into the ruck. Tim Kelly is recalled from the waffle after his 18-20 touch effort last weekend. And Elijah Hewitt, their former top pick, also comes back into the side. Out goes Sandy Brock, who had 9 goals kicked in him by Jesse Hogan, who would have thought. Out goes Clay Hall, because it must be his fault they lost by 10 goals. Out goes the captain, Oscar Allen, who's been managed, / I don't really know if he's been dropped, / he's already playing for the Lions / Hawks. And out goes Bailey J. Williams, who's been, he's been carted in the ruck. In comes Peter Wright, 2-metre Peter, his first game for the year. Out goes Nick Bryan with that devastating ACL injury. Now, the line for the Bombers and the Eagles tonight is 26.5 points. The game will start 6:10 our time here in Melbourne. Just looking at this, there's no excuses for the Bombers. The Bombers have to find a way to win. They'll get it into the likes of Nick Martin, Zach Merritt, and Sam Durham, and their midfield should prove to be too strong. West Coast midfield has been destroyed every single week. They've been uncompetitive in the rucks as well, let alone with the players that are meant to be touching the pill. And once you get it deep in their defence, outside Jeremy McGovern, ain't nobody stopping anybody's key forwards. Essendon doesn't have a bevy of great key forwards. We've got Peter Wright, Harrison Jones, Nate Caddy, but I still think Essendon can easily put up 85 to 90 points, which West Coast have struggled to do every single week. This should be not a comfortable win, but a definite win for the Bombers if they're serious about performing in 2025. Betting in this game, I find it difficult. Besides, maybe merit to have 25 or 30 touches, depending on what bookie you're using. I'm still using Tab due to their brilliant miss by one promotion. So merit to have 29 disposals effectively is $1.55. Just had 38 playing really off a half forward line against Melbourne. He's had around 30 or more in every game. Plays the team that gives up probably the most disposals in the comp to midfielders. So I don't mind merit at that price. Also, Jordan Ridley, since he's returned to the team from concussion, has been hitting 20 every game. He's about $1.25, a bit riskier, but I think Essendon can control the football in this one, particularly in the second half. And on the West Coast side of things, Liam Baker is $1.30 to have 20 touches on the tab. He's had it every single week. His role does change sometimes week to week, but I think considering they gave up pick 3 to get him, they try to place him in a prominent role to receive the football, and he's a good user, so I don't mind him in this game. Goal scorers, no one that really fancies me. All the Essendon players are naturally very low odds, so I'm not going to be tipping into any of that. Just personally, I think Isaac Kako is due to kick a goal or two, but the odds are terrible, even though he hasn't kicked one for 3 rounds. I think the Bombers should win, but I also don't think they'll cover the line. I think they'll win by about 20 points. Let's move on to the next game, and it is early on Saturday, 1:20 Melbourne time. We go to the MCG, and we have Melbourne taking on Fremantle. Now, the ins and the outs. We've got Colton Tholstrup coming in for Melbourne, and Tom Felton and Daniel Turner. The outs, well, there's some big ones. We've got Jacob van Rooyen being dropped, Jack Henderson, and Bailey Fritsch. That's right, their premiership star, Bailey Fritsch, has been dropped due to his poor form, as well as Jacob van Rooyen. That's 71 goals from last year's team, from a side who simply cannot put a score on the board. And for Freo, we've got Oscar McDonald coming in for his first game in over 2 years, and Paddy Voss, with his 3-game suspension, comes out of the side. Geez, considering the way Melbourne have been travelling and what I saw at Gather Round last week, there's just no way I could possibly tip Melbourne in any game coming forward. The line is 18.5 points in favour of Freo. I still think Freo get the job done, especially if it's not too wet. We're predicting a little bit of rain on Saturday in Melbourne, which could affect the likes of Amos and Tracy from kicking a bag against a pretty fragile Melbourne defence at the moment. But I just think the class and the ability for Fremantle to win the ball at stoppage and get the ball to the likes of Sarong, Brayshaw, Young, even people like Murphy Reid who are having an impact on the scoreboard. I think that's too much for a Melbourne side who simply have been smashed around the ball, or when they do win it, they give it straight back. Good teams with good kicks like Sarong and Young will hurt you badly the other way. I just think they're full of confidence, they're up and running. Freo are a team I really like, despite the fact they've got a few injuries. And just, you cannot tip against them. You cannot tip Melbourne right now. They're simply in too poor a form. And the only way they could win is a masterclass by Gawn, who's playing against Sean Darcy, who's a very good ruckman, or from Oliver and Petrarca to wind back the clock, use their time turners, and think it's 2021 again. I don't see that happening. I think Freo will get the job done by 20 points as well. From a betting perspective, no one I really like in this game. Probably going to have wet weather. Melbourne really only have a couple of players that can do anything consistently on a week-to-week basis. I could say Christian Petrarca for 20 disposals is $1.30 on most books. That's not bad. He's named, as you can see, starting on the ball, even though he's played predominantly forward this season, or more forward than he has in the past, sorry. I think he's a decent bet, but besides that, no one I'm really that interested in. We'll move forward to the Saturday. What have we got, a 4:40 game this week? Do we have, it's over in Adelaide. Of course, this is a nice game. We've got Adelaide taking on the GWS Giants at the Adelaide Oval. What a great stadium it is. Probably the second best stadium in Australia, behind, of course, Marvel Stadium. Yes, from Adelaide, we've got coming in Nick Murray and Sam Berry, and out goes Lachlan Scholl and James Peatling. No changes, of course, for the Giants, who had a nice win over at Norwood against the St Kilda Saints on Sunday afternoon. Now, this is a game I really like. I love both these teams. They're both relatively healthy. The big matchup for me is in the midfield, as it is for a lot of teams, and, of course, whether the Giants' strong defence can quell the influence of Thilthorpe and Fogarty. Now, the midfield battle The big chess piece I want to see is where does Toby Bedford go? Now, Bedford is named on half forward line, but has been signalled many weeks in the media. Bicep Kingsley, my man, Adam Kingsley, he tells you who he's going to. He tells you that he's going to Jordan Dawson most likely this week, who is the captain of the Crows and their best player. So let's say Dawson is taken away a little bit, doesn't have a huge game. What does that mean? It means Saligo, Crouch, and Rankin really have to carry the load against a really strong Giants midfield of Callaghan, Green, and Kelly. Okay, do we think the Giants, who are 3-1 in their last 4 games against the Crows at the Adelaide Oval, are gonna take the victory in this one? Giants only have one loss this year, and it was to Hawthorn at York Park in Tassie, and it was a very blustery game. So, in terms of consistency in their form right now, the Giants probably deserve to be favourites, even though the line is in favour of Adelaide by 2.5 points. So it really is a pick'em. I'm going to tip the Crows just because I do think they're a really good team and they play pretty well at home. I know they lost last week to the Cats during Gather Round. Geelong are a really strong, professional team that gets the job done on the road quite often. But I've got a lot of belief in the Crows. But if I see a lot of rain, there's predicted to be between 10 and 2 millimetres of rain, then I might need to flip that pick just because it won't be so easy for the likes of Walker and Thilthorpe and Fogarty to take marks and to kick goals if it is torrential rain. We could see a low-scoring affair, which does help the likes of the small forward line of the Giants, Toby Green, Darcy Jones. It might be more Giants conditions, which helps the likes of Kelly and Green as well in the midfield, and Kieran Briggs just throwing elbows to anyone in his path. I like the Crows. Betting wise, it's a difficult one. I don't love anyone just due to the weather. So 2+ goal scorers not on my agenda. Disposals, Matty Crouch, Finn Callaghan to have 25 and 20. That's not bad. They won't cop attention. We know that neither of them are going to get tagged. So I don't think those are bad bets. But there's not a lot that interests me in terms of the betting side of things. I like the Crows but it should be a ripping game to watch. Move forward to Saturday night. And Saturday night, we've got Dimmer returning to a stadium he doesn't even know where it is. He better get the ways up. It is the Richmond Football Club taking on the Gold Coast Suns in for Richmond. Wow. Noah Bolter is in. What are we doing here, boys? Boys and girls, anyone out there, what are we doing? Why is someone who coward punched another man, filmed on video, being allowed to play a week before his sentencing? This is one of the all-time own goals. I think it's ridiculous what Richmond are doing playing him. They are so desperate to win that they want to play someone who engaged in activity, which is one of the biggest issues in society and has no place in the game, let alone in society. I just don't get it. He should not be playing anytime soon. At least wait for the sentencing, and then we could potentially put him back on the park. I just think it's a joke. Anyway, Bolter is in, Samson Ryan is in, Sam Waller is in, out goes Jacob Bauer, out goes Tyler Sonsi, out goes Jacob Blight. For the Gold Coast, in comes Connor Buderick, out goes Sam Clohessy. I think the Suns will smash Richmond here. The line is 47 points. Richmond, they were good against the Lions 2 weeks ago. They got smashed by Port Adelaide. Who did they play last week, Richmond? If you can remind me. I'm pretty sure they played pretty poorly. They played against Freo. Yeah, they got their heads ripped off over in the Barossa. I just got no time for Richmond right now. And due to this inclusion, I think it's a joke that I've got no confidence they're going to win this game either. Obviously, Bolter helps them. He's a decent player, premiership player. He's going to make them stronger in defence. Richmond are all about winning games. I don't know why. They're absolutely garbage. They're probably going to win about 3 for the year. But hey, at least they're trying to win this one against their old coach. Must be some personal things at stake here. I reckon their midfielders are going to smash them. You've got the likes of Anderson, Rao, Miller. They're going to do whatever they want against this young Richmond team. I reckon they'll win by 50 points. Goal scorers, betting-wise, not a lot I want to mention. I mean, Ben King to kick 4 is $2. If you're not really into 4+ goal scorers, I ain't got much for you. Ben Long to kick 2 is $1.50. He's kicked 2 pretty much every game this year. Still don't really love it because it's Ben Long and it's only $1.50. This is more just a watch your Supercoach players, see what unfolds. If you want to get involved with some low touches from the likes of Hopper and maybe Tuke Miller to have 20. You're getting like $1.50 there. Not great odds, but both should likely happen. Otherwise, probably turn this game off and spend some time with your family for once. Yeah, and probably just keep eating. Move forward to Sunday. Now, we don't have the full teams for Sunday, just who's extended benches. For the Swans extended, we've got Malakin, McInerney, Francis, and Patton. Out goes Joel and Marty, so definitely one change there for the Swans. And for the Power, in comes Finlayson, Atkins, and Burn-Jones. Now, Port Adelaide actually got a really strong record against Sydney. They've won 8 of their last 9 against the Swans. Just so happens that one loss was the prelim final last year when they lost by 6 goals. Before that, they'd smashed them every other time. They beat them by 100 points in Adelaide last year, late in the season, when they were ready to put a line through the Swans. We also, geez, they're done. You can't lose by 100 points. Then they came back, won another couple of games, looked good. Then they lost the grand final by 1 billion points. So maybe we were right all along. Who do I like for this game? I probably still like the Swans, but it's not based on any sort of great logic. It's just the fact they're in Sydney and they haven't been terrible so far this year, and most of their good players are playing, even though Papley is still out, Goulden is still out, and who's the other one I'm missing? Papley, Goulden, and Callum Mills is still out. So it's a tough one. It's a really tough one. I think it's a coin flip due to the fact that Port have a great record over there, and they played so well last weekend, but I saw that game live between Port and Hawthorn. They couldn't play any better. It seemed like the perfect storm for Ken. This was their grand final. I know you're saying naturally they'd lose their grand final by 100 points, but no, they won this grand final. I reckon they were so up for it in their home stadium that we forget a week beforehand St Kilda bashed them at the Adelaide Oval as well. Sydney, proud club, usually pretty good at the SCG. I know they lost there already. I reckon that Swans will just get through in this one. The line for this one is 14.5 points. Wouldn't be backing the Swans at the line, but I think they'll get the result. Move forward to Sunday night footy. This one's at Marvel, and we do have the return of footballing Jesus. Marcus Bontempelli is back for the Western Bulldogs. Also, we've got Baker, Buslinger, and Gallagher added to the extended squad. I don't think any of them will play. We'll see at 5 o'clock today who actually makes the Dogs' final side. Out goes James Harms. For the Saints, in comes Sean Maker, Liam Henry, and Harry Boyd. Now, Henry was in their best team last year when he was healthy, so he might be an inclusion. Don't know about Boyd or Sean Maker. The Saints didn't disgrace themselves at Norwood against who they played, the Giants, last Sunday. Wasn't a terrible effort. I just don't see them making wholesale changes. They've looked pretty good this year, the Saints. Same with the Dogs. They played very well. They're up, 25, 30 points against the Lions before they reeled them back in. Looking at that bench, I don't see widespread changes. I just think Harms for Bont, maybe one other change, and that's it between these two teams. The line, I think, is 10.5 points in favour of the Doggies. I'd still tip the Dogs. I just think they've got more A-graders, a bit more progressive at the moment. They took it up to Brisbane, who are one of the good teams in this competition, despite the fact they lost last night. And at Marvel Stadium, both teams play this game really well. I'll give the slight edge to the Doggies, and just with Bont coming back, it has to be worth a couple of goals. It has to be worth at least 2-3 goals. Help settle the whole team down. You got one of the best kicks in the league. I've just got a little preference for the Doggies in this game, but it should be a really tight contest. In terms of betting, the one on the Dogs I love. The odds are now tanked for the rest of the year on Sam Darcy. 2 goals for him is $1.30. Personally, not tipping into that. 25 touches is where I like to make my money or lose my money, which happens most times. Wanganeen Miller and Jack Sinclair going very chalky for this one. 25 touches, both of them bet $1.60, $1.55 each. They both have it almost every single week, apart from last week when Wanganeen Miller had 24, but on tab missed by 1, you are still a winner. That would be my suggestions for any tips or any bets for this game. We move forward to the last game of the round, and of course it is Easter Monday. The Cats taking on the Hawks, the best rivalry in the game, 3:20 Melbourne time. I can't wait for this one. I will be in attendance, of course, with Marcus of Hawthorn to see my Hawks. Wait, they're not my Hawks anymore. I've been thrown out of the Hawks cheer squad. I am a man without a nation. I am the Bombers, of course, but I had Bombers fans in the comments on TikTok saying, "Oh, you can't do this. Oh, that's not a good look." Guys, I've paid over 10 grand in fees to the Essendon Football Club, and I've seen 0 finals wins. I think I can wear a Hawk scarf for 2 hours for a sketch, and people don't need to have a big old-fashioned cry about it, okay? Moving on. Monday, Geelong. Hawthorn, who's going to win? Well, the line is 1.5 points. I still like the Cats on this one. Cats just in better form right now. I love what Holmes and Smith have brought to this team. They've now got some great run and carry and some dynamic midfielders, which they haven't had for the last couple of seasons. They've had the War Horses, your likes of your Atkins, your Dangerfields, your Selwoods, hell, even a Jackie Bowes. Now you've got some speed. You've got some real Dacos-like qualities to Holmes and Smith. They can break away from stoppages and they get the cheap 1-2s behind the back because they're such good kicks of the football. At least they have been for this year, particularly Maxi Holmes. Going to be a close one. Hard for me to really say too much before we see teams and before we see what the conditions will be on the day. But I like the Cats to just get home in this one. But as always, this game, anything can happen. It's always super, super close. My favourite Easter Monday game. Oh, jeez. I reckon the games that are later in the year have been better from a personal point of view because I saw Tom Hawkins kick that winner after the siren, which wasn't an Easter Monday game, just the Geelong Hawthorn game. Best Easter Monday game. Oh, I loved when Danger made his debut for the Cats, and they were like, whoa, as a Victorian, what is this? I've never seen someone this athletic, this strong, this powerful, who can have 30 touches and kick goals from the midfield, like on a week-to-week basis. I mean, I saw Gary Ablett Jr., but I was a young man. I saw Chris Judd. He didn't kick as many goals as Patrick Dangerfield's going to kick. I just thought, this guy is a human cat. Like, I can't do what he can do. He can run as fast as a bullet train. He can soar as high as Superman. And he also is a bit of a bastard. He'll throw your head in the deck. He'll try and bump you. And then he'll act, I'm injured. Oh, I'm not well. I'm going to kick 6 goals 5. I'm actually a freak. That's why I love watching Danger. That's why I love watching this game, because it's always a close contest, and there's a bit of biff about. It's a true rivalry, isn't it? It's not just two teams that dislike each other. Now these teams fucking hate each other and would do anything to win this contest. I can't wait for Easter Monday. I'll be there in attendance. Maybe Hawk takes me back, or maybe I'll become a full-blown cat. We'll see what happens all the way in 3 days' time. But until then, there's so much footy to watch. My Bombers are in action tonight. We have to win against the Eagles because next week we have got the grand final for Bombers fans. It is Essendon Collingwood. It is Anzac Day. We're not going to play any finals anytime soon, let alone win one. So this is the most important game of the season for my Bombers. I can't wait to unpack that one and preview it all of next week. But until then, enjoy Easter, enjoy your chockies, enjoy your seafood, enjoy whatever you eat, okay? Because it is going to be a football extravaganza. We love you all here at Slam Talk Sports. I say we because I've got multiple personality. I'm Hawk one day, I'm Bombers the other. I'm just depressed because I don't know Nick Dacos and Supercoach. I'm all those things wrapped up in a bow. We'll see you all on next week's show for Slam Talk Sports. Let's win a couple of bets and have some chockies.